describes the four basic financial statements. Financial accounting produces four basic financial reports. They are the income statement, the statement of retained earnings, the balance sheet, and the statement of cash flow. We will go through every one and tell you about its purpose, and we're going to be using Apple computers for this video. Let's start with the income statement. Here's the income statement for Apple computers for the years ending September 24th, 2011, 2010, and 2009. The income statement reports on a company's profitability during that period of time. So the column that you see here is for the year ending September 24th, 2011. You can think of it as, what did it earn? Notice it does not say how much more cash do you have, and we'll get into that later. Okay. The income statement also tells you how well the company has performed. You can think of this as your GPA. The income statement also has a couple different names. Sometimes it's called the profit and loss statement, or very common, you'll hear it called the P&L. P&L, the acronym for profit and loss. You sometimes also hear the statement of earnings or the statement of operations. They all point towards the same thing. So let's take a look at this. For the year ending September 24th, 2011, Apple computers had revenue, or it earned $108 billion. Notice that all the numbers are in thousands. Okay, and of that revenue, mostly products in the form of MacBooks and other Macintosh computers, iPhones, iPads. Okay, it cost them $64 billion to manufacture it. Okay, and therefore, after all the manufacturing costs, they're left with $43.81 billion. Now, what's so important about this is not so much how big the number is, but also the ratio between the 43.8 billion and the 108. If you work out the math, even if I do some approximate math in my head, that's about 45%. Okay? And to make it really easy for a math dummy like me, let's call it somewhere close to 50%. So basically, whenever you go out and you buy an iPod, essentially, on average, they're making 50% off of that. Okay. Now, for this year, you can see that Apple computers had net income, or earned, $25.9 billion. Now, you can also see that they put a lot into research and development. And you can also see how the revenue has grown and its profit has grown over time. Oops, that was a slip. And let's move on to the balance sheet. The balance sheet reports on a company's assets, liabilities, and equity at a specific point in time. And we'll get into that in our assets equals liability plus equity talk. So by looking at this, we can see a company's financial situation, or what's called their financial position. And in fact, the balance sheet is often called a statement of financial position. Okay. Looking at this, what we can see about Apple is that at September 23rd, 2011, it had $9.8 billion in cash. They also had another $16 billion in short-term investments, and those are like stocks and bonds that it holds that it can turn into cash at any time. Okay, and you can see how much asset they have compared to how little debt they have. Let's move on to the statement of retained earnings. Now, I took the liberty of sort of simplifying it, and what the retained earnings does is that it tells the reader what did it do with all the earnings that it has earned through, since the beginning of time? Therefore, retained earnings. So there's a couple of numbers I'd like you to take a look at. The first one is net income, the 25,922. Notice that is the same as this number down here, 25,922. Also, notice that the beginning and the ending retained earnings come from the balance sheet. And here they are here, 37,169, 62,841. In this case, they had one other item in there that was for the repurchase of stocks to be used for compensation for employees. Now, we won't get into that, but this essentially tells what has happened to all the earnings that is made through time. The last financial statement I want us to look at is called a statement of cash flow. The statement of cash flow reports on where did the company get its cash, and how did it spend it. Yeah. Cash to a company is like water to humans. It is critical that they have it. So from looking at this, we can see that Apple Computers this past year has, you can say, gained cash or increased this cash by $37.5 billion based on doing what they normally do, selling computers. Okay. However, they have spent some of that. In fact, they've spent all of it and then some. Okay. They have reinvested $40 billion. Okay. And it also tells you that it has sold some stocks along the way. And during the year, total cash decreased actually by $1 billion. And you can see how that has performed the same story for the past years. And all of these financial statements, its purpose is to really tell the readers what has happened to Apple Computers during that period of time. This ends our discussion.